All right, today is Wednesday, September 27th, 6 PM. Public Safety Commission meeting is held at the City Hall, second floor conference room and on Zoom. This meeting is being recorded by the Public Safety Commission. If anyone other than the city or commission is recording the meeting, you must notify the chair at this time. Is anybody else recording the meeting, either on Zoom or in person? I will take that as a no.
Who's in the waiting room?
Okay. All right. I will read the Mass General Law, Section 30 statement. No person shall address a meeting of the public body without permission of the chair, and all persons shall, at the request of the chair, be silent. No person shall disrupt the proceedings of a meeting of the public body. If after clear warning from the chair, a person continues to disrupt the proceedings, the chair may order the person to withdraw from the meeting, and if the person does not withdraw, the chair may authorize the constable or other officer to remove the person from the meeting. I will take a roll call. Commissioner Illinois,
Here.
Commissioner Jarvis,
Here.
our new commissioner, Maria Burge,
Here,
welcome.
thank you.
Commissioner McMahon,
Here.
and myself, David Moscaritolo. I'm here. All right, so we need to approve meeting minutes. I passed them out to everyone. I'm sorry they were a little bit late for the August meeting. If you could look those over real quick. I'll need a motion in a second to approve the meeting minutes.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the meeting minutes? It was mostly based around the fire departments. All right, any questions? All right, we'll go through the list. Commissioner Illinois,
Yes.
Commissioner McMahon,
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis,
Yes.
and I will approve them too. And Maria, you weren't here, so great. Moving on. Public comments. Is anybody present? I'll start with in the room. Anybody present here in the room from the public that would like to speak? Step on up and take a seat and announce yourself. I'll get to the folks on Zoom shortly. I have to unmute them on Zoom if to speak, I believe so, right? Technically, yeah. All right, sorry.
Jesus Leyva, 88 Deerfield Street. This is actually a question. I know you guys can't necessarily answer it, but I just want to put it out there. I was asked about the co-responder program and whether if when the police department gets a call that they would deem makes sense for a co-responder to, one of the clinicians to be with the police officer to respond to that call. Is there ever a situation where dispatch of the police department is able to send the clinician without the police officer, or is it always required that the police officer be with the clinician responding to a call, like an emergency call that goes into the police department? That's just a question.
I think we can take the time and could you answer that question, Deputy?
Sure.
I think we can, I can make an exception and answer that question now. Not a problem.
If a call requires clinician that's not a co-responder, we bring the call over to CSO, and CSO has on-duty clinicians 24 hours, 7 days a week. So those clinicians, which is the same as our co-responder, would respond without a police officer present.
Hi. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? The other participants.
Just had it where you could see all the thumb downs.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, so I'll just mention it one more time. Is anybody on Zoom would like to speak for public comments? All right, we're going to move on. All right, emergency service is not here, so won't get general updates from them. I'll ask them to send general updates to us via email. Next up is fire department general updates. Chief, would you like to join us?
I will. It's not getting into City Hall.
Oh.
The front door.
Can somebody, actually, we'll run down and get it.
I just texted one of my captains to tell her to go around side.
Yeah. The side,
She'll be on her way up.
I think she's coming to the side door. Yeah, she's good. It's unlocked.
That front door.
Okay.
So while we're waiting,
Yes.
while we're waiting, I hand these out. There we go. Here we go. Yeah, to the station. Did I? Thank you. Yeah. Do it, 'cause yeah.
I'm actually gonna be back. And then I
Got music while we're waiting.
background music.
For the people at home, stay tuned.
I mean, I can ask somebody to in this room right now to sing if you'd like.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't.
You'll have
Husband on the back room might
Fights?
offer up his services.
We'll be
We're gonna have to send another commissioner down to find the commissioner.
yeah.
Here we go. I hear noises.
Huh? Midnight. It is.
Come on in.
Have a seat.
So we'll start with quick updates. In front of you is, so we're in the capital budget process right now. And when we submit our capital, by rights, it's supposed to come to this committee first before it goes any further. It has to be submitted by the end of next month. So I wanted to get ahead of it because it's such a big ask. And put in front of you an opportunity to see a little report on what we're asking for from the fire department. The fire department's ladder truck is a 2000, so it's 23 years old. I'm going to keep it as short as I can. But when to go replace a ladder truck nowadays, it's a minimum of 2-year build. So even if we said approve it now, it's going to take 2 years to get in. So the way that the capital works is it goes to capital improvement. It goes through that process. They vote on it in May or in June, and by July we order the truck. We won't see it for 2 more years after that. And we're starting to push the age pretty good on this truck. This truck, by schedule, was supposed to be replaced in 2020. So it's going to be, by the time it comes in, it's going to be about 7 years past the anticipated replacement date. When I originally started going through the process of redoing our fleet and altering it, saving quite a bit of money, it was all done building up to this day. So for the last decade, we've replaced our whole fleet and crafted different ways to handle our fleet by eliminating trucks, combining trucks, with the idea that this truck was coming. We pushed this truck off enough, and now it's here. Unfortunately, when I first started going through this process, we were looking at a $1 to $1 million project. Estimate for us replacement now with escalation costs, because we're not ordering it today, is 2.2 million for a piece of fire apparatus, which is, it's just crazy. But basically what we're going to be asking for is we're going to be asking to replace a rear mount ladder. So if you look on the first picture that's in the report, that's the current ladder truck. That is 47.5 feet long with 8 feet of that out in front of you. It is a beast to drive. It is difficult. It is top heavy, and it's been a great truck. It's not really what the city of Greenfield. It's not the best option for the city of Greenfield. The truck that we'll be replacing it with, if approved, is on the back, and that is a mid-mount ladder, tower ladder, which basically takes that bucket in the front of the truck and puts it in the rear of the truck and takes the turntable and puts it right behind the cab, which lowers the center of gravity. It's a shorter wheelbase, so it's more maneuverable. The big issue for us is that ladder doesn't sit on top high on the truck like we see now. And where that comes into important for us is we can't get that, our current ladder, a lot of times under the wired side of the street. So you're 50-50 when you go to a house fire, whether you're gonna have wires or whether you're not. It's very difficult to operate that truck. This truck is designed lower, so you can park it right under the wires and get to the roof. So there's a lot of reasons why this truck will be a lot better than the current truck. I won't get into it. We have a lot of time to talk about this before it goes to city council. But I wanted to get this report in front of everybody, give you some time to digest it, and hopefully next month get a recommendation from public safety one way or another moving forward. There's a lot to digest with this truck. It's not a simple engine or ambulance. This is a big, big commitment from the community. I will tell you from a financial standpoint, our ambulance revenue account has been doing okay. And it is my intent to work with the finance department we received authorization to borrow 400 and I think it's $50,000 or $90,000 for the new ambulance that we've placed an order for and we're expecting to come in. It is my intent to go to city council and ask them to take some of the funds out of our ambulance account and pay for that ambulance or part of that ambulance. So we're not borrowing as much, freeing up, hopefully borrowing to put towards the ladder truck. So working closely with finance and trying to get creative on that and trying to keep the borrowing and the costs down for the city as much as we can. Any questions about the ladder truck?
I remember hearing you say that there were certain bridges you couldn't go over with this ladder truck.
There was, the majority of those bridges have been fixed with the exception of the canal bridge that goes into Turner's. So the White Bridge, and then you go over the canal bridge. We can't go over that. All the other bridges have been fixed.
Oh, like the Nash's Mill?
Correct.
Because that was like a serious issue with like response time.
Yeah, Nash's Mill has been repaired. It's a brand new bridge. There's no restrictions on that. This particular ladder, I'm not positive, but I think it can go over under the low bridges, which this current truck
Right.
it can't, but I'm not positive on that.
I mean,
I don't know the overall height of it yet.
I don't know how City Hall could say, the city council could say no, just when you explained all of the ins and outs of what we're currently using, it was a little bit like alarming. I mean, I didn't know about the wires.
Yeah, there's multiple reasons why this is a safer truck and a more maneuverable truck and a better truck for us. The thing that I've committed when I took over as chief is to really look at our fleet as a whole rather than individual pieces. And everything that we've done for our fleet, and you'll remember your involvement with that, we took 2 trucks, combined them into one. We saved over $1 million worth of fleet replacement with the idea that this truck is coming down the road. And I was been saying it every year at city council and at Capitol. This truck is coming, this truck is coming. Well, it's here and it's 7 years. It'll be replaced 7 years really after where it should have been.
I mean, it seems like we're lucky that nothing's happened, that we've really needed this.
So the report goes into it and right now we're looking about 10% of its overall lifetime in the fire truck over the last few years. It's been out of service for repairs. So as the truck gets older, the truck has to have more repairs. The more repairs are more costly. We've spent probably $30,000, a little over $30,000 or around $30,000 within the last few years in repairs. And so the truck is really getting to the point where it's starting to get really expensive to run. I also go in the report and you'll read it when you do there, but there's some requirements for us. So one of our requirements is our insurance rating. A community of our size that has 5 or more buildings that are over 3 stories or taller or require, I forget the gallonage minute, I think it's 3,000 gallons a minute. Half is required by the ISO to have a ladder truck. And if you don't, you lose the points on it. If we lose points, the insurance rating goes up. Every homeowner in the city of Greenfield gets a higher rate on their insurance. So And then the other requirements that talk about the truck and what the truck needs and what you need to operate is the NFPA requirement. They kind of work hand in hand. So, and ISO also rates based off of the age of the truck too. So my goal is to get us down to, we were able to get it back down 1 point. I want to go 1 point further down because at the end of the day, every resident will see a savings on their insurance. Not a lot, but who does see a big savings is our businesses that pay a lot into insurance for large buildings and stuff like that. They would see if we were able to reduce it again, they would see quite a savings.
When the current truck is, or any ladder truck is out for repair, do you just make do, or do you have to call for mutual aid if you need something?
Automatic mutual aid.
Automatic.
If we have reported building fire, Turner's Falls, it's put on notice and they respond right away. What makes it challenging is if, say, their truck goes out to repair, right? Because that's been said multiple times, like we could share a ladder truck with our neighbor. Well, first of all, ISO doesn't recognize that. And second of all, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because then you're talking your next available ladder truck's either Northfield or South Deerfield, which is a pretty good response time. You want that ladder pretty close to the initial response, especially if you got people hanging out the windows and you got to make a pick. So,
I mean, we had a pretty bad fire. It was a multi-family. I think it was on was it Conway Street? Remember, was somebody smoking? I'm imagining you guys had to use the ladder truck for that.
We've used it on several calls, but the most dramatic rescues that we had what happened on Chapman Street. Chief Wynn was in charge. I was the deputy chief, and we had 10 people on fire escapes that needed rescue, and we were short-staffed that day, so there was a delay. We ended up pulling people off the 3rd floor over ground ladders, but the 4th floor we couldn't get to until a ladder showed up. Nobody was hurt. Everybody was rescued. The building was a complete loss, but yeah. That's the most dramatic example of rescues with a ladder truck. I'm not happy to report that COVID is back and we are seeing a dramatic increase in cases out in the field as well as cases within the firehouse. So we have instituted new protections within the firehouse for the next couple of weeks where we're going to mandate masks and we'll make sure we get a control over it again in the firehouse. The station's coming along nice. If you get an opportunity, I would love to give you a tour. It's got the shell up, but the inside is really impressive. And why the sheetrock's going up and the rooms are starting to come together. And so I'd love to take anybody that has the opportunity to go down the station and check it out. Part of that is I went to planning with a captain and a lieutenant, Captain MacGyver and Lieutenant Kimball, to ask for the permission to put up an LED signboard, which is going to give all kinds of information to the public as you come up to Main Street. You know, right now we put out a big signboard, usually like flushing hydrants or rain, water restrictions, and it's on this big orange sign that sticks in the middle of the street. This sign would take care of that. We're financing it through the department. The actual base is, we're going to try to see if the project can take care of. It's the intent of the department to purchase it. And so planning and zoning doesn't permit signs like that. So it is going to city council for a recommendation that it's still prohibited except for public safety or municipal.
I think we said municipal.
Municipal. So hopefully that'll pass. It's a very expensive sign, but it will be a great thing as you come up Main Street and you'll get information. What we're really excited about is being able to put out critical emergency information right on the spot. So we could dial in on the phone, say there's an Amber Alert in the community. As that alert comes in, we just send it right to the sign. It can put the information up of the Amber Alert or the Silver Alert or other alerts that may happen. So it'll be impressive if it comes together. Our fixtures and stuff are starting to come in at the new firehouse. We went and looked at furniture. It's daunting. Like you think it would be easy to outfit a department and offices and stuff, and it really is not. So we're trying to do our best to be most efficient and effective in keeping the costs down. But it's a lot of work trying to figure out the furniture situation. But the firehouse is coming along good. We should see the garage doors in a couple weeks. The rest of the building should be sealed up and, still projection is, completion sometime the end of December, beginning of January with a move somewhere in January.
And the switch is gonna,
No, there are complications with it, but we're working on temporary solutions to work around the switch and the heat and everything else. So, it will be challenging, but the alternative is to stay at the existing structures that we have, and starting January, February, it's about 50,000 a month. So we really need to get out of those. And as well as that, I have formed a decommissioning committee of firefighters where we're going to not only look at moving again, but actually decommissioning the temporary firehouse. It's not as simple as shutting the doors and walking out. You haven't been there, there's a lot to that building, and it all needs to be taken out and accounted for. And, there's going to be excess property that we're going to need to get rid of. And so it's a big project, and it's taking up a ton of time. But we're very happy, and we're moving forward. Any questions about the station?
It's great.
It's awesome. So one of the items that we are in the process of doing is, since we've got out of civil service, we have a new hiring process, which I'll get into in a second. And then we also have a new promotional process. We have hired a contractor to come in and do our assessment center for a captain's position. That position's testing will be November 8th will be the written examination. And November 9th at 8 o'clock in the morning at a place to be determined, we're hoping the new library. That'll be where the assessment center will actually occur. I would encourage any public safety commissioner that wants to participate at some level to let me know. We'll put you in. I can't have more than 3 of you. Actually, I can't have more than 2 of you, because other than that, it would have to be posted and it would have to be a meeting. But we're super excited about that. It's a new procedure for our firefighters, or they're actually lieutenants going for captain. There's 4 candidates that will go through the testing process. One of the things that I'll remind everybody that we did when we got out of civil service, before we got out of civil service, it was important to me that we made sure that we replaced a system with a system, right? You just didn't want to drop and create something. So we actually did it at the negotiating table and negotiated the promotion policy is actually in the contract of the firefighters. That is tremendously challenging from a management standpoint, because there are tweaks that have to be made, and it's not as easy as going in and revising the tweaks and then you have to impact bargain. But this is our first time, and I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's a better way to promote, and we're very happy with it.
On November 9th, what's the timeline?
8 o'clock till probably noon to 1 o'clock. Yep.
What's the process after the assessments?
It's spelled out in contract, and I don't have it in front of me, but basically it's we go through the process, and then the charter kicks in at that point. The candidate, like we're going to have tonight with the firefighter, candidate's got to come before you for its final quote interview, where you make your determination whether or not you support the recommendation that's being forwarded to you folks, to the mayor, and then the mayor makes the appointment from there.
Excellent. Okay.
So you, and again, it's important to me that if you're available for either the interviews or the assessment part of it, if you want to participate, if public safety wants to be involved and participate and watch the process and see what we go through, or get documents on the process, by all means, because we want to make sure that this is an open, transparent way that we do our promotions and hiring.
Chief,
Yes.
you said November 8th,
Yeah.
Ninth.
9th?
8th is the test.
Okay, 9th at what time?
The 9th is at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And you did say that it was for new hires and for promotions?
No, the assessment center where we hire a contractor is promotions of lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, and chief. Oh, actually not chief, because that's not a collective bargaining position. That where we hire somebody does those. The entry level is a whole nother procedure, but it's done in-house. Which we've talked about at previous meetings. It's a several step process. Where first of all, we grade your applications and no names, no recognizable information or anything is on there. It's just what you have for a resume. And that is graded, and then a list is created off of that. That goes to a 3 to 5 person interview board where they grade and they develop some scores. And then depending on the amount of candidates that they have, they'll recommend 3 to 5, depending on how many we're hiring, for an in-house assessment that's done by a contractor that EMS contractor, firefighters, and then other fire chiefs or other fire officers from other departments. Those scores are taken together, graded, and then it goes to a final interview with me. I make the final recommendation and goes to you folks, goes to them. It's a very long process. The gentleman that accepted the job, the last meeting you have, will be starting the 1st of October, as well as the candidate that's sitting behind me, which we'll get to right now.
So before that, with respect to the assessment, if you're interested, it really should be, who goes should be decided upon by the chair, David Illinois. So, because we would expect you to come back and give the rest of the commissioners input on what you experience. So if you're interested, you should speak with David and he'll make the decision on if there's more than 3 people interested, he'll have to pick the 2 folks because we can't have more than, we can have 2. We can't have more, we can't have 3.
But you can split it. You could have.
Yeah, we could.
8 to 10, 10 to,
We
you
can do
know.
that if we wanted to, but I think it should be left up to the chair to.
Very interesting to watch. The company that we hired brings in their own evaluators that include, previous chiefs. I think the retired state fire marshal, one of the evaluators, really solid crew. And they come in, they grade everything, they record everything. They've never had a dispute in their hiring, and they do all kinds of departments.
Nerve wracking to sit through, and to do, but.
Yeah. So then they change it halfway through, right?
All right, thank you.
Oh, you're not going to be graded.
There we go.
Without further ado, I'll have Christie come up.
Hi there.
Help me with your last name because I don't want to butcher it.
Bomir.
Bomir, what's so hard about that? No, take a seat. Sit with us.
So-
Christie, nice having you here. You can sit in this pose here. Yeah, it's fun.
Maria, don't burp.
So-
Don't bite yet.
Couple things.
Maria won't bite you. You can sit next to her.
Oh, I'm sorry, myself.
I'll let her introduce herself and a little bit about a background, but I wanna tell how my first interaction with our new candidate was. She is on Rowe Fire Department, which is a very small department out in West County. They had a pretty well-involved fire that her and a partner showed up on and pretty much handled the second floor fire by themselves. I happened to be with Chief Wynn, who is the chief down in Com. He was the chief before me, and he offered her job on the spot. And so I'm happy to say that we were able to, she was able to apply here. She went through the process, graded on the top of the process, and we've offered her a job. She has graciously accepted it, and we are thrilled to have her aboard.
Hi. So my name is Christy Bomir. I've not always been a part of Row. I recently moved up here 3 years ago. I come from West Hartford, Connecticut, born and raised. So definitely a different cultural lifestyle. Huge culture shock for me. And I started the fire service As soon as I came up here, I joined the volunteer. And it was, as soon as the first meeting, I was like, I'm hooked. The fact that the communities are so dependent upon these volunteer fire service, I needed more. So I joined Holly, I joined Charlemont, I joined Heath. I trained with Coleraine, I trained with Shelburne Falls. I needed more. So just the fact that Greenfield's so close and they have such a diverse community as well, just like West Hartford, nearly not as big, but just like West Hartford, I wanted to be a part of that community process as well, just at a larger scale. So I decided to sign up with Greenfield.
We're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
So part of the process is usually we offer a conditional offer of employment, and as we're going through that, we have a physical and we have a PAT test, a physical agility test. She's already attended both of those. The physical, we got the paperwork clearing, and
I have my PT on Friday.
has the PAT on Friday. So once we get the PAT information back and the mayor does the sign off, we will be starting both her and Michael right away. She'll be attending the academy as soon as we can get her in, which is a 10-week intensive program down in Springfield. But we will get her on a bus, the ambulance, and then get her some ambulance experience and start getting her ready for fire duty. So we're very pleased and very, very happy.
Thank you for choosing Greenfield.
Thank you.
A lot of options.
Yeah.
If everything doesn't work out.
I knew he was gonna say that.
I think.
Somebody else here needs another dispatcher too.
We get a copy of this?
Yes. I just want to say that I'm super excited that you're here and that this is a new chapter for our fire departments. So congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in action. So it's great. Thank you, both of you.
So Chief, how many females do you have?
As firefighters, we will have one.
One. This is a new chapter. That's why I said this is a new chapter in the Greenfield Fire Department.
We had a female firefighter before.
That made it all the way to
To
captain.
captain.
Okay, yeah.
And she left to be,
It's been a long while, though.
Yeah.
it has been, and she left to be a physician's assistant.
Yeah.
And she's very successful right now in what she's doing, so.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to
Yes.
make a recommendation
Yes.
approval.
Yep.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion? To approve.
Second?
Candidate Kristen Lumiere, yes? One, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Great.
I will be drafting, and I apologize, I didn't have it for this meeting. I will send you an official letter just to formalize it.
Could you forward it to me too, so I can forward it to my notes now away?
Yep.
I know where to send them.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Spell your last name, please.
BEAUMIER.
That's not really hard. French name.
Come on, it's not like Moscaratolo, right?
Yeah, you-
Come on.
It'll be 6 months.
I just learned how to say it. Never mind spell it. I just forget to spell David M.
There you go. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Are we good?
I think we're good. Do emergency management. We are in hurricane season, watching the hurricane season very closely. So the new firehouse, the training room will be our EOC. So we're excited to actually have an EOC back and start operating out of that. I will tell you that our conference room at the new firehouse and the training room are both going to be set up as Zoom rooms. So
We'll be there.
you'll be able to go back to a public safety building.
Excellent.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Good luck to you on Friday.
All right, we're going to move on. We're moving on to dispatch, general updates. Welcome.
Hi, I am Cindy Hunter, dispatch supervisor. So I have a few notes from last month. So let's go. Last I talked to Lieutenant Dodge, the bids still have not gone out for our new project or for our construction project.
Okay.
He told me that it's being held up by the engineers, something to do with HVAC systems. And I haven't seen him this week. He's on vacation. So that was the last I heard about that. So we are now settled into our temporary quarters in the old roll call room. See, our recording system, which is Equiture recording system. Lieutenant Dodge actually secured more grant money through State 911 because we're going to have to replace that. Equiture is going to go away, and it's very expensive to replace. So he was able to secure the funding for that, thankfully, through State 911. So very excited about that. It's the system that records all of our phone conversations, radio transmissions, so 911 calls, so everything is recorded and saved in that system. So we have 2 dispatch classes that we have scheduled. I actually have the handout for the class because I wanted you folks to be able to see the description of the classes. That way, we can pass it around.
These for new hires or for all the?
It's for all of the dispatchers. So we have asked at this point, I've asked them to voluntarily sign up. It's through Public Safety Group. I've taken many of Tony Harrison's classes. He's very, very good. I would highly recommend that if you folks have time at some point, there is a fantastic, it's related to one of these classes, but there is a fantastic Dateline episode. I know it probably sounds ridiculous, but there's a fantastic Dateline episode from bunch of years ago, and it's called The Detective's Daughter. And that actually coincides with one of the classes mentions Denise Amber Lee. She lived in Florida. She was a very young mom of 2, married. Her father actually was a detective in the department where she lived. And unfortunately, she was abducted from her home. The 2 children were left there. Husband comes home, finds her not there. Unfortunately, through some mishandlings with the 911 office where the offices where this happened, there were some mistakes made. Opportunities were missed to find her, and unfortunately, she was murdered and found later deceased. But it's a wonderful. I always ask new trainees to watch it because it has so many lessons in it for what we try to avoid and what we train to avoid. So if you folks have the opportunity, I would highly recommend looking that up. For August, we had 184 hours of overtime, which sounds like a lot, but it was equal to 23 shifts. But we also had 76 hours that were covered by per diems, which is preferred because they pay straight time as opposed to overtime, so it saves us some money. We did still have the 1 person out on maternity leave, but fortunately for us, we do have what we call the vacation relief spot. It's our 10th dispatcher who covers long-term absences, and so that saved us about 160 hours of time having to be covered, so that was good. For the month of August, I actually just wanted to mention to you folks that we have 2 dispatchers that did a fantastic job on a particular call. I think as you folks know, we have cameras that we have access to in dispatch that monitor Energy Park, Town Hall, Town Common, the parking garage. The night shift, the 2 girls that were working the night shift, dispatcher Seibert and dispatcher Guillaude, they happened to be watching one of the cameras, which focuses on Town Hall. And they noticed that there was a gentleman down there doing some drug activity, unfortunately. And they saw him kind of nod out. They saw him fall to the ground. So they immediately realized probably what was happening. He was probably overdosing. So they sent everybody down there. I believe he was Narcaned probably. He was brought back, taken to the hospital. But because of their watching those cameras and being so observant, probably saved that gentleman's life. And so I'm very proud of both of them. And I did send an email to the deputy chief and to the lieutenant as well, recognizing that. Let's see. So for September, we do have our 2 grants that we apply for every year have been applied for through State 911. One is a training grant, one is an incentive grant. So we now have to wait to hear about that. I don't recall a year where we've been turned down for that money. So for our
Do you know the total of what that is?
I don't offhand. I know the incentive grant is around 90,000, 85 to 90,000. I'm not sure what the training grant is. I know it goes by the size of your department and how many calls you take a year. So it can vary. Let's see, but the training grant covers all of the training we're required to go through throughout the year. Let's see, our overtime for September has been around, it's a little bit higher, it's around 218 hours. We had 60 hours that were covered by per diem so far. Unfortunately, we will have our person who is out on maternity leave, she's actually going to extend her leave to a leave of absence. And so we won't have her for about 3 months. We expect her to come back the beginning of January. But again, we do have our vacation relief spot. We can have him cover her hours. So it's not going to cost us any overtime. The dispatchers have been taking, I just want to say, we have been taking some pretty high priority calls in the last few months. If you pay attention to the news, the recorder, we've had calls involving firearms, unfortunately, suicides, calls of that nature. And I'm really proud of how they step up and they handle those calls. One of the things I've been mulling over in my head is how to address mental health for dispatchers. And so trying to come up with maybe some sort of a training or just a briefing, something of that nature, just to kind of make sure that everybody is good. Let's see. I think that's just about it. We are, as always, we're still on the hunt for per diem dispatchers. We haven't really had any luck finding already trained dispatchers for that, unfortunately. Every agency is going through the same issues that we are. Everybody's short-staffed. Unfortunately, the candidates that we've had apply the last few times, we whittled it down. I mean, we ended up with a lot of applications, but unfortunately had to whittle it down. So we're always looking for per diems. So if you guys know anybody that's interested, send them our way. But
I have a question.
of course,
How many bilingual dispatchers do you have?
none that I am aware of. I personally can, I have a few phrases I can do in Spanish. I've picked up over the years, enough to keep someone on the phone long enough. We do have a translator service through our 911 system that we have access to. It's a one-button transfer. So if I take a call from someone who is Spanish speaking, un momento, señora, get them to stay on the phone with me, and one button, get a translator on the phone. It's seamless, or it has been, thankfully. And they have many languages, more than I could probably count.
Do you know the percentage of calls that go to that's used? Could you supply us with some?
I couldn't give you a definitive number. I would say it's pretty small.
Yeah.
We don't use it very often. I personally have used it probably once in the last year and a half. So very small.
We also have a TTY service that works the same way.
Yes, our TTY service is for our deaf and hard of hearing population. We do have 1 or 2 people who actually do use it. It comes in sort of like a text message call on our system. And so we just have to keep typing to the person. It's a little more cumbersome to get information that way, but it works.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Thank you.
The classes here, are all the dispatchers going, it's volunteer?
Well, at this point, it's volunteer.
Okay.
But every dispatcher is required to do 16 hours of continuing ed every year. So they, at some point, have to do something over the year. Unfortunately, because of COVID, everything went to Zoom, everything went to pre-recorded classes. And I kind of felt like, let's get out of that mode and get back to in-person classes, because you get so much more out of it when it's in person.
Will the 911 grant, training grant cover that?
It will cover the cost of that. One of the benefits of Public Safety Group is that they offer, if you're the hosting agency, they offer you 3 free spots in the class. So it saves us that much money. So, yeah. And we are actually utilizing the transit center for their conference room, which I have been to before, and it's a very nice
Good setup.
conference room. Yeah. And so with the parking garage, it was convenient for parking. And so.
Important topic, so it'd be great to have as many as, they're the first line right? I mean, they get the calls first, so.
Yeah.
These are really good topics because you want to start off in a good way, right?
Absolutely.
The mental health part, I find quite interesting, and I think I want to relate it back to what Chief Strahan talked about a couple meetings ago. You know, he's looking at the mental health of his crew, right? You know, I think it's important to look at the mental health of all the emergency departments together,
Absolutely.
right? Not just separately, but what can we do to make it full circle for all three departments, right?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I could see, you know, we get the reports on all the calls. I read them in detail. You know, we can see how many, you know, how many incidents that involve in death or handguns or drugs. So there's a lot going on. So, I mean, the mental health part of it has to be a part of the equation. So I'm hoping that we talk more about that.
And I think for us, I think people think sometimes that because we can't physically see it, that it doesn't affect us in the same way. But I mean, I will go back to a few years ago. I was actually sitting in dispatch one afternoon. It was 3:00 shift change, and I had a young man come in and report a very serious thing that had happened. And he was in shock, and it was quite traumatic for him. But it was a little traumatic for me as well to have to, you know, handle him and be sensitive to what he was going through. But again, I think that because, you know, people think that because we can't physically see it, we're not on scene, it doesn't affect us the same way. But when you have someone in your ear that's screaming because they, you know, it was a domestic situation and they just were assaulted and, you know, you have kids involved, and that can be traumatic for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we need to talk more about this.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm actually surprised that I've been out of the department for, what, 20 years, something like that.
But
And that's
just
something
retired.
that has not been a priority
Yeah,
because you don't know when it's going to
absolutely.
manifest. And I'm telling you from, you know, experience
Absolutely.
that all those, we didn't have dispatchers when I was there, right? But we were the dispatchers. We
yeah.
were the ones. And the anxiety that you feel that you can't be right there to help them. You know,
Absolutely.
and then if
Yeah.
something, you know, happens.
Yeah.
So I am very, very happy about this mental health subject that
Yeah.
hopefully
It's-
we can move forward
A
quickly.
big part of it is that you're often left feeling like, I wish I could have done more, or, you know, like you kind of left feeling,
Who'd have I,
you know.
have I done?
But fortunately for us, I mean, when I started dispatching 21 years ago, I started in Northampton, and dispatchers weren't really included in anything sort of, like when you'd have a traumatic incident happen.
Right.
You are probably familiar with this. You would have a critical incident stress or a debriefing afterward.
Right.
We were never included in that. But fortunately, these two gentlemen have been so proactive about that. Unfortunately, I've been fortunate enough to be able to go, but unfortunately, I've had to go to several debriefings since I've worked for Greenfield. And these two guys, I can't say enough, that they include dispatch. They're very proactive as far as we're concerned and include us in that. And so we're very grateful for that as well.
Well, I think if you want to keep dispatches for a long period of time and you want them to be an important part of the team and, you know, they need to be included. Because, I mean, they're dealing with the same level, maybe not the same level of stress, but they're getting the stress first. I can just imagine what it's like to have, you know, screaming parents on the phone when something happens to the husband and wife and the kids are in the background and you're trying to get organized to get a fire department or police department there and you have to keep your cool and you don't have any time to debrief. So I'm sure it hits you after the fact.
Absolutely.
So I think it's an important topic that I think we need to continually talk about.
Agreed. You know, all these classes that we go to and over the 20 years, I mean, everybody says the lifespan of a dispatcher is between 3 and 5 years, and then you're completely burnt out. So I'm way beyond my expiration date. And, you know, we have several, one of the dispatchers has been there about 17 years. And, you know, I mean, like you said, you want to keep full-time, long-term. And so that's an important part of it, is just making sure that, you know, we're, again, fortunate for these gentlemen. We also have EAP, which is Employee Assistance Program, available to us. So, yeah.
Thank you for the updates.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Gonna give him 1 minute.
1 minute.
You saw his email saying, I'm gonna be quick.
59.
Better problem here.
Welcome.
I'd like to start by acknowledging Cindy, Supervisor Hunter. If you guys don't know, she suffered a tremendous personal loss over this month. She's had a very sick family member for the last several years, and she has been not only taking care of her family, but she's also taking care of our police department and being there as much as she can. Even after her loss, she kept in touch with the police department and was back to work as fast as she could, which was faster than I probably could have been here. So it absolutely should be acknowledged that she is a very essential worker for us, and she gives us her all.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Dispatch update. So she did the dispatch update, but she didn't give you all of the stuff that we have to worry about on the money side. So for example, the dispatch room, we're still marching towards trying to get an RFP. We've had some issues with the architect. We've had some issues with the town hall. I'm not trying to make excuses. Seems to me that this is an easy project, but it's not an easy project. However, it seems though we probably going to go out to RFP next month on it. So we are at the finishing line of the architect issue, which is good news. The water infiltration issue, we are on RFP right now about that. That is the water that comes off of the mountain into our building. There used to be a very good drainage system 50 years ago, but things get filled up and things collapse. And so we put in an RFP, if you didn't, a request for capital on that 18 months ago, and it was approved. And that is an RFP. And also that includes a fencing that goes around our back of the station area that protects all of our infrastructure, our important infrastructure, so it can't be compromised, which is an accreditation issue.
Do you know
That is on RFP.
Do you know when that's due back?
That is within the 30 days of the start, so it started in the last week.
Okay, great.
So
Within the next
we
30.
have people coming now looking at the our station, tearing apart some walls that will eventually need to be replaced and all. Of course, both of those were given quotes 2 years ago on that, and we're not going to be on budget because the project is old and costs have gone up a lot in the last 2 years. But we don't think we're going to be too far off budget, but we're not going to be hitting our estimates. We have upgraded estimates now, and you really never know until you get the RFPs about exactly where things are going to be coming in on. Saying that, one of the things that we didn't include in the dispatch room is the dispatch console. The dispatch console is the radios. They're at end of life. They're falling apart. They're not safe. They're not giving the names of the officers that when we're in firefighters, when we key our radios, it should tell us exactly who is radio in case somebody yells for help. It's not keeping up with the amount of radio stations that we have right now. We got this new system, this 800 system that comes with like 300 radio stations, and we're operating on like what, five or six of them. Yeah. And when we have an event where we can't operate the event and the operations station and the fire and the police and the county police, county fire.
Can I just one thing?
Yep.
In regard to that, so we just had one of the festivals happen in Wormtown. We like to have one channel dedicated to that so that we can communicate with them. We actually had to turn off another radio channel to accommodate that. So that's part of that.
So this console, it's expensive. It's about $300,000. It affects the fire department, the police department, emergency management, the DPW, everybody that's on that system. It affects. I'm not saying that we're going to go on capital right now. I don't think it can wait as long as capital. The chief is working with the mayor's office right now and the fire department on trying to come up with some financing to get that project going sooner than later, because it's antiquated and it's at end of life and you can't repair it. So it's a major problem. So another issue that is knocking at the door, and we've been saying it for a couple of years now, is the parking lot. So we've had an engineer come over at the, engineer Twag, what's his first name? Tarag, with the town. Alan, yeah, and come and take a look at the parking lot, and he is noticing that it is starting to collapse down onto High Street. And if you look, it's very obvious because you have the parking lot and it starts going like this down High Street. I don't know what the price of that is. It's going to be a future cost, but it can't be completely ignored. He does say it's not an emergency, although he says that we should try to come up with a curbing to curb the water away so it doesn't continue to eat away at the slope. But it's not urgent, but it's important to deal with. Another issue that I'm not going to go into, we can go into an executive session if you want, is our cameras and security for the station are all over 10 years, 10, almost 20 years old. The cameras are probably original cameras for the station. That whole system is hurting. I could go into more details because it deals with building security. We're not going to talk about it in private. It's again, though, that issue is urgent, and we have people that are exchanging child support that come to our parking lot and have court order restraining orders that come into our parking lot. That all has to be monitored, and we have to be able to see what's going on out there. It's a security issue. If people are going to get hurt, not only that, but law enforcement is a very litigious job, and things happen, and you want to make sure you have cameras. We all wear body cameras. I don't have mine on right this moment because I'm in administration function, but all of our officers on the street have body cameras. But that doesn't take care of the parking lot and the station and behind the station, et cetera. So we do have cameras out there. I don't want people thinking we don't have cameras. We do have cameras, but we need to deal with that issue. Yeah.
Do you want to plan on an executive session at the end of our next meeting?
That would be up to you if you want to talk more about that.
I would like to. We can,
Yeah, and if I may, I think we have to really talk about as a commission, we're fully staffed at this point, about the needs of the police department in terms of the building. How much money are we going to spend on that building?
Right.
Let's be realistic. We're a city, we're the county seat, and infrastructure reflects the quality of life for everybody. And I mean, I was the chair of the school committee, and I'd say that about the schools. And it affects morale.
It does.
And I'm not going to mince words about the fact that dealing with issues where people are critical of the police should be separate from providing the resources, including the structure that they work in. That is nearsighted and wrong.
Well,
So I think as a commission, I want to invite discussion about that. To the extent we have to do some executive session on the security part. But I don't know how the members feel, but I think that I see the police department structure and the fire department structure and the dispatch confines all equal in terms of the attention that we need to pay as a community.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
Just a recommendation. So right now, the legislation at the state level is working on passing public safety committee bill. So it's basically like the library building grants and the school grants. Right now, Natalie Blaze, who's our representative, and Joe Comerford are spearheading that, and they took testimony, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for our public safety commission to send them a letter saying, hey, we support this and this is why. To get Greenfield PD on the radar, so to speak.
I would entertain a motion
So
to authorize the commission to.
So we really can't discuss this at this meeting.
Right.
It's not on the agenda. So we could put it on the agenda and we could talk about it all month long up to the next meeting, but we really shouldn't go into detailed discussion about that right now.
So let's put that on so that we can get a motion and a letter out,
Yeah, I think we should do that.
because I'm sure we'll have unanimous support.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it.
The only comment that I have is our building was built in 1998 as a temporary place for our facility because we were always thought there was going to be a public safety complex. And, that was over 20 years ago and, the things are falling apart. And some of these issues cannot wait another 20 years.
I get it. So let's just stay with the updates and we'll put it to the agenda so we could have a full conversation.
So our capital. Right now, we're looking for 5 cruisers for the capital. That's going to be in the area of 350 to 375. They're going to have to be completely outfitted with all new equipment that goes inside them, such as radars. The radios are new, but the computers, the radars, the cameras, everything that needs to go into a cruiser, because a lot of times you can switch the equipment from car to car if you're getting cars in the area of 3 years out. These cruisers are replacing cars that, even if we got this on capital, that would be halfway through 2024. We wouldn't be seeing the cruisers until 2025. And these are 2016s and 2017s cruisers. So these cruisers that we like, that should replace every 3 years, we try to replace them every 5 years, or in the area of 7, 8, 9 years going on now. So we tried to get 3 cruisers and 4 vehicles last year, and all 4 were shot down. The mayor and the chief are working on how to do that. You may see that in our capital. Not positive that that's what's going to happen, but don't be shocked if you see that in the capital for next year. Another updating on capital would be an upcoming our record management system. Our record management system is a circa 1995 system. So they're not, it was at end of life years ago. They're not repairing them anymore. They're not updating the software anymore. And it's not, every police department in Massachusetts is basically going to have this problem in the next couple of years. That a new RMS system is in the ballpark of about $400,000 right now. It's going to go up as we go through the years. So that's something that for capitals that you're going to be seeing, but that is not going to be on this year's capital. That may be on year 2 or 3, but it probably won't make year 5. We had promotions in August since the last time we saw you. That's really exciting. We promoted 2 lieutenants, right? 2 lieutenants and 3 sergeants. The lieutenants are broken down into more of a system like the fire department has. We have a lieutenant that's in charge of logistics. That's putting all the pieces of the police department together. That's Lieutenant Dodge. That's why you hear his name a lot when it comes to projects and grants. We have an operations lieutenant. He's in charge of the day-to-day operations with police. With uniformed officers and detectives. It used to be they were in separate divisions and separate supervisors. We thought it would be a much better place to put them all under one hat. As I told him, that everybody from the detectives to the supervisors to the chief to myself are all community police officers. So job number 1 for any Greenfield police officer is the community. It doesn't matter what division you're in. It doesn't matter what job you're assigned to. Number 1 job is community policing. And we also have
And what lieutenant?
that's operations lieutenant is Green.
Green, okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And then we have a planning lieutenant, and his job is to look towards the future and where we need to go. So you'll see accreditation, because accreditation is always working in the future. Policy work, making sure that we're updated on policies, seeing the new and best things that are coming down the pike, and doing emergency management work and liaison with the fire department, and that's Lieutenant Haskins. So we were down to 1 lieutenant for several years, where we should have been having 3 lieutenants. So it's nice to have them 3 back. They started in August. They're behind, so right now in August and in September, they have been doing a lot of training, a lot of organization of their areas. And starting October 1st, you're going to start seeing them work a lot of 3 to 11s and weekends, which we haven't had a good base of administration supervisor on evenings or weekends. So you're going to see lieutenants. If you come in on a Saturday, you might not see one on days. You'll see one on the eves. If you didn't see one on eves, you probably see one on the days. So they should be around, barring days off requests, et cetera. The sergeants are in place. They're all shift sergeants, so they're all on lines, and they're, hold on a minute, my organization thing here. They're all on lines and on patrol. So there's not really much to talk about. One sergeant has been assigned to what we call an administrative sergeant. And their job is, if they're a new sergeant, right now we have these 3 new sergeants. For a period of a couple months, they're on an intensive training program to learn all of what the administration is doing. So they're transitioning from patrol towards administration. They didn't really have any exposure to the administration side. So for several months, each sergeant's going to take a role on it. It's more like an FTO training or FTO program for sergeants. And they learn all about accreditation. They learn about what the chief does in budgeting, and they learn about grants and everything that we have going. And then they go back to patrol, and they're able to explain to patrol and take what we have going, especially community policing, because that's what we talk about almost daily. They bring that back to their patrol officers and say, this is why we do things and this is why it's important. So one of our sergeants, new Sergeant Patinsky, is on it right now, and he was just sent to Northampton for 3 days to do an accreditation evaluation of Northampton, and he learned a lot about the nuts and bolts of accreditation, how other departments are doing things. So then they bring that back to Greenfield, and it's not just Northampton. We'll do Amherst, or we'll do Ludlow, and all over Western Mass. And we take little pieces, the best parts. We call it stealing. We steal all the best parts, bring it back to Greenfield. So he was able to learn how about that process. And he came back with some ideas. And I know that when I did it, I always came back with some ideas. New hires. So we started, if I remember, we had 5 new hires. One did not complete the FTO program. I don't want to name him because I don't want to, it's private to him. And 2 went to the academy. And 2 are in the FTO program, one of which just completed tonight. So he will be on the schedule for October 1st, which is just a couple days away. And the other one that started right into the FTO program, he was in the HCC, Holyoke Community College Police Department. Greenfield Police Department's a lot different than HCC Police Department, so he's got some more learning to learn, but he's doing great, and he's going to be flipping right into, I would say, probably 2 or 3 weeks behind the first guy. So about mid-October, you'll see him on the street. We got 2 people out of the academy. They're just starting the FTO program. They're 3 months away or not. They're fresh, green, never been a police officer ever. So
But they made it through the academy.
they made it through the academy, right? But the academy is like school. Your real learning is when you come out of the school. It just gives you the base learning. And then we have one opening that we're trying to fill of the person that didn't make it through the FTO program. And hiring is not easy right now for police officers. That's why I was willing to.
Or fire.
Okay, well, I'll steal from you if you want. Matter of fact, we were happy to say that the person that graduated the FTO program today was a career firefighter and paramedic. So, we did steal one.
Playing good in the sandbox here.
But when it comes to the hiring, so we have one position that is immediately available. We're trying to find somebody that has the academy already or can be waived through the academy. That means somebody that either out of state or they worked part-time and they went through the Bridge Academy. We put out a hiring for that and we closed it late last week. And I think we got one person that we're looking at for that, but no promises on that. If we don't get somebody through, the state police are stealing a lot of people. That's one of the problems too. So, and they're hiring like like 2,000 people in a couple of years. So a lot of people are moving that direction. But if we aren't able to hire an academy trained person, the next academy won't be for probably in the area of 8 to 9 months to start, at least in the area academy. Western Mass Academy starts, I believe, next week or the week after that. Their closing was at the end of August. And the next academy we can use is Boylston, which is a little bit further than Holyoke, but it's not that much, like 10 more minutes. It's not that bad. And they close their academy entrance October 5th, which is next week. There was no way we can get a candidate in because you have to do all the medical and all that stuff. Seeing that they're running those two academies back to back, then we have to wait for the completion of those academies and then a new entrance period, which is 2 months. So you're talking 6 months plus 2 months. So it's 8 months. And then they go to the academy for 6 more months. So that's why the fire department has the same problem. You know, it's not as easy as just hiring somebody off the street, throw him him or her in a police car and off you go. It's not easy anymore. And in the old days, if you remember, older days.
You're gonna get out of that one.
What was that at?
We had people that could go to the part-time academy and they would come with the part-time academy and we could use them full-time, part-time until the full-time academy started. So if we had that situation and we hired somebody like that off the street, then we would be able to work them for that 8 months. If we hire somebody right now, we can't work them as a sworn officer until they finish the academy. So it makes things very, very difficult, and that comes with the post, and it's something I think everybody in the state had unanticipated results on that, and everybody's kind of relooking at that and saying, well, we might have to figure something out because we're not the only person that every police department is complaining.
So with that, would you use the option of part-time officers to fill the time?
Can't. There's no such thing as part-time officers. Well, you can have a part-time officer, but they have to have a full-time academy.
Yes.
And then you have to go to the academy, and I just told you the whole process with the academy. So in order to even to hire a part-time police officer right now, we would have to, unless they come in certified, it would take us 1.5 years to get them
So
on.
the folks that we did all the interviews for, I mean, we went through, I attended them, we went to 2 or 3 interview processes, and we narrowed these new hires
Right,
that we
yeah.
have now down. Are there any options with the folks, maybe the third person that placed? I would assume you're looking at.
Well, if you remember, we took about 5 or 6 off that list.
That's right.
All right, so we're not at third, we're at 7th, 8th, 9th now.
Okay.
And sometimes when you're at 7th, 8th, and 9th, it's not necessarily the candidate that.
Sure. No, I just assume you looked at those
Oh, yeah.
lists that we went through and spent all that time, and I got.
Yeah, but the way right now, the way the hiring is, if you're living and breathing, somebody's going to grab you. And so that we recalled probably 3 or 4 people off that list. They never even called us back because they're already working for another department. If you don't take people that moment, they're moving on.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
So we had somebody that we really had a good eye on and we were excited about, and they went to the state police. So yeah, it's not easy. And then in Greenfield, it's not the only department. You heard the fire department is complaining about it too, but every police department is having the same issue across the state. It's unanticipated of how that worked out.
If you're a firefighter right now, you pretty much choose where you wanted to go.
Oh, it's same thing, yeah.
You can choose.
One of the things.
Back in our day, back when Eddie before me, like, guys were careful who they would walk down the stairs in front of. Because jobs are very hard to get,
Sure.
It was like 100-person list to get to your name.
So before I forget, for both departments, if you could you send us over a new list of, people in positions like you did 6 or 8 months ago to us, we've had promotions, we've had new hires, we have a new commissioner. If you could send those over to us, that would be great.
Okay, so saying that, which is actually, I see there's a lot of good news there because we have some new bodies coming in and we're seeing that, You do have to realize that we just went through vacation period with not enough people. And we're now in the first quarter and we spent a whole lot of overtime to try to keep our shifts because the direction was to work 24 hours a day and have your shifts covered for 24 hours a day. And without having those 5-6 people, which is an entire shift of people, we were hiring 2 or 3 a day of overtime. Not only that, but then you had vacation on that, and then you have your obligatory injuries and everything else that goes with, public service. So we have one person out with a broken hand. So he did it off duty. So we're not paying him if he has to take it in sick time, but we have to fill a shift. So.
And I didn't see it on the reports you send us monthly. I look at those pretty good. Were there overtime hours and cost in that? You don't send that to us, right?
No, that's up to the chief, and the chief wants to do that. He does financing. I do day-to-day operations. He does the financing. I know what we have for financing, and I know what we spend in general. So I know that overtime is way out of whack. Right now, if you were to look at our budget, our training has not been spent, but training starts in October and November. So nobody trains in the summer because everybody's on vacation. Sure. So we're about to transition into training times, which brings me back to, they upped the minimum. Well, the minimum training for law enforcement through post is 40 hours of training. What they did was they gave us 24 hours of training, and then we were able to fill in the other 16 hours of training with optional stuff. Some of the optional stuff would have been roll call training, and you add all the roll calls together and it comes out to so many hours. 40 hours doesn't seem very much, but that is just the minimum training that comes with the police officer. So they upped that from 24 to 40 hours. So the academy is now asking everybody to go to 40 hours of training. We do a lot of online training, but online training only goes so far. But our budget only goes so far. So we're weighing out whether we send people, how much money we have to the training. You also have 12 hours of firearms training. You have 8 hours of CPR training. You have 4 hours of taser training. So there's another 20. So now you have 60 hours of minimum training, right? So, and that doesn't include leadership training, sexual assault training, detective training, everything else that you have to go on. Our training budget is not, in our regular lines, is not up to where even close to it needs to be. It's probably in the same area that it was 20 years ago. That line really never changed very much. But we are drowning in the amount of forced training that we have through post, and we cannot skirt around it. Some years, if you had a rough year in financing, all right, well, maybe in the past you didn't quite get all of your training done, but you gathered it after the first of the year, right? Well, we can't do that anymore. So you're going to see issues when it comes to training overtime, because it's just the amount of overtime. Not only that, but we have to send somebody to Holyoke to go get the training. So it's an hour there, or 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, an hour and a half of built-in overtime, even if it was your day on, and we just don't have enough people to take off the street. So it's expensive, and we're starting to feel the expense of the mandatory unfunded overtime that the state has, like everybody else. Overdose deaths are high right now. Last I counted, we had 5 in a period of 2 or 3 weeks of overdose deaths. And we had several suicides that went in with that. And she brought that up when she's talking about high acuity calls and dispatch. Same thing with the officers. We're bringing in critical and stress management system teams to start working with our officers who've gone to death over death over death over death, to help them with their wellness, psychological wellness. The police departments have been much, much better in the last 5 years about officer wellness, and they get mandatory officer wellness training every year. But when we have rashes like this, we have to, and it's more acute, we have to deal with that. So we are in the process of doing that. And last thing I have on my list is just if anybody's there's not so many people watching, but we have a lot of B&Es in the area right now, breaking and enterings, especially into cars and houses. Especially in the north of the county. So Berniston, Northfield have a big rash of B&Es that's going on. We are sending extra patrols into our northern areas, especially at nights, but these B&Es aren't just happening at nights. So, but we're making sure that we have loaded our northern areas with extra police officers monitoring. We have, it seems to us that people are coming down from, especially Vermont, that are causing this, but we're never certain until we catch them, but that's what we're getting with that. Shoot, I had one more thing that I was gonna throw on that for calls. Nah, I can't remember. It wasn't not that important.
Welcome to my world.
Is the percentage of domestic violence going up?
I wouldn't be able, I'm not prepared to.
I mean, I'll ask some questions offline. And
Whatever.
reports, yeah, I'm just
You
curious.
have our report.
I compare these month after month, and I'm just curious to know, I can see things go up and see things go down off of these reports.
Yeah, it's like the stock market though, if sometimes, some months you have high, some months you have low, as long as you're not going up a staircase, so I'm not seeing that we're necessarily going up a staircase. You may just be seeing minor fluctuations, especially our numbers are fairly low. A lot of people ask, is Greenfield safe? Greenfield is very safe. We do have some problems, and not like any other community in America. But when your numbers are low and you go from 5 to 6, the percentage rates are much higher, right? So, so you may be seeing some fluctuations, but I don't see a trend. Overdose right now is the trend.
Overdose, yeah, you can see that in the reports, definitely. Okay.
And we're all over that. We're working with Connect and the opioid task force. We're getting more Narcan into the communities. And it's not going unnoticed, and we're working as closely as we can for that. So.
Questions?
Any questions?
No, I just saw, we're gonna touch more on the capital next meeting. We're gonna put that on the budget or.
Well, when do you come to us for the capital? Is it next month? You'll come to us with
It's gotta be submitted by the end of next month, so yeah.
so you're we're just gonna squeak it through. It's gonna have to be at our meeting next month.
Our meeting is at the,
Capital is so hard because you're projecting a year out.
Yeah.
it is.
We're projecting 5 years out.
I mean, the 25th would be our meeting and that only leaves, I don't know what day the mayor is requesting you to have it into her. So we may not have time to review it.
Well, we might have to have
We might have to have a special
we might have to have a
meeting,
special
remove a
meeting.
meeting and.
Yeah, we might have to have a special meeting. We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, well, I was just mentioning it because capital is a very important thing and,
Yeah, we have to-
and we've seen some trends. I've seen trends for 30 years on the capital budget every time we go through it and we're getting crucial trends right now that
Well,
are gonna have long
Yeah.
effects on the community.
Well, we need to also make sure that we're fulfilling the charter, Commissioner. We have to make sure we're fulfilling the charter. So if we have to have a special meeting, we really need to review this before it goes
Exactly.
to the administration.
Right,
So we'll look at the dates and
Yeah.
we'll get back to
So
you.
it just says, well, it does have a date, October 27th.
So 2 days after our meeting.
Yeah.
Our regular scheduled meeting. Okay,
It has to be submitted to the G drive by the 27th.
okay.
One of the things you asked, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring it up and put it on my list, is that to update you with cruiser accidents, and we've not had cruiser accidents in the last 2 months.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that every month. Excellent. Anything else for the deputy?
So I'm not a commissioner, but I'd have a comment before he gets out of the hot seat, if it's okay.
We'll let that.
You'll indulge me for a minute? So we had a couple pretty bad storms the last couple months. We talked about it. Bill has been to every storm and I worked close together. Just wanted to acknowledge Bill because during the fair a week ago, 2 weeks
A couple
ago,
weeks ago, it was
we're
rough.
short a couple details, crucial to the parade route. And for both parades, the EMS parade and the fair parade, the deputy stepped up and manned one of the posts to make sure that it was covered. I personally, as fire chief, recognized that and wanted to say, give him a kudos and let you folks know that Deputy Gordon always steps up when there's.
Yes,
when there's-
absolutely. Thank you. We've seen it over and over again. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, folks, we're gonna move on. So we're on to Public Safety Commission discussion. And if the chair will allow me to, bring up a few things, that we aren't gonna go into depth tonight, but, are important for us in the future to talk about.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, last month, we were invited to the A and O,
November 13th.
yeah, we were invited to the meeting to discuss the charter, the new ads that the city council wants to add to the charter. I think you've all received this. If you haven't, let me know. But this is really important for us. They invited us to the meeting. We appreciated Lieutenant Jarvis, myself, and Commissioner Jarvis, myself, and Commissioner Byrd attended that meeting, and really good feedback. I think we all need to take a look at this. They're going to invite us back. It brought up a lot of good points. I don't know if I want to go into them right now. I'm going to do some notes and get it out to all of us. But I'm just encouraging all of us to take a look at this and participate when they invite us. You know, we as commissioners in public safety have to follow a charter. So if we don't understand something in the charter, if we don't agree with it, if we have concerns about it, this is the time to have the discussion with the counselors that are going to make these recommendations to the state. So let's take a look at that, and maybe we could talk a little bit more in detail at our next meeting if we have the time. So I just encourage you to look at that. One of the things that we did talk about during the meeting is a process and procedure, not for the fire department, not for the police department, for public safety commissioners to address how to effectively investigate complaints. And we felt that it's a really important topic for the Public Safety Commission to have a document. You know, the Public Safety Commission I haven't seen a document on like the steps on how the Public Safety Commission works with the fire and police department on how we investigate if a complaint comes through us. You know, it might have been handled one way 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, but I think, you know, it's really important for us to work on a document that spells it out. I know that Commissioner Jarvis, you talked about not being totally comfortable on how.
I had stated
Yeah.
that we didn't have formal training.
Yeah,
on
that's
how
what I
to
mean. We're not,
investigate.
we might not all be comfortable with how do you do an
No, I
investigation?
didn't say comfortable. I said training.
Training, okay,
I
yeah.
used to have to do
Yeah.
training. I used to have to do investigation
Sure.
for the police, for the fire department.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize for that. But my point is that, you know, the commissions will change and not everybody has experience with this type of stuff, right? Calling people up, talking to people, doing an investigation. So I think it's important for us to have a document that lays it out, what the steps are. You know, how, you know, when a complaint comes in, how is it categorized? Is it a complaint that's an administrative complaint? Is it a criminal complaint? Is it both? You know, so that's my pitch on it. I really think that it would be important for not only us, but the community. And it's fairness to the police and fire departments. You know, if we're going to investigate, as Commissioner Burge had mentioned, you know, once you issue a complaint to somebody, whether it's police or fire or anybody, that's a mark on them. You know, and an investigation could take place and they could, you know, it might be found that it wasn't, you know, true or whatever, but there's still kind of a mark out there. So we need to take it serious, and we really need to put a process and procedure together for that. So I'll talk with Commissioner Lenoy, you know, we'll bring our thoughts together individually and then bring it to a meeting, and we should come up with a really good, solid process. So, you know, when the Public Safety Commission changes hands, you know, the future commission has a really solid document, and it's only going to build transparency and trust with the community and the departments. So I encourage everybody to think about that, and I'll send you folks some information on it, and let's get together and let's talk about it and come up with something solid. I think Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that you hit it on the head. We are a charter body, and there should be a policy and procedure relative to the functions we perform. And it should be vetted, it should be collaborative, and it should be there for successor members and commissions. So that's lacking. We need to do that.
While we're not opposed to what you're saying, one of the things that really should be talked about, and maybe council should be brought in, is that you should also have the unions involved in changing the working conditions.
Absolutely.
And second thing that you need to put in there is that we're required by post to report investigations to post, but we will not report those investigations until they're given to the police department as also an internal investigation. So somewhere in your policy, you need to notify the police department of any police-related complaints to be reported to the post commission. And we would need the complete packet.
All right, Commissioner?
Yes, I was doing a little research on what other departments or other cities in Massachusetts were doing. And I was really impressed by the Springfield. They have a manual, a board of, that, that kind of.
Breaks it down.
Yes, and like Lieutenant, sorry, Gordon, mentioned about, see, now I had a little hiccup myself. Dang it. Let's move on.
I think what maybe I'm going to take a guess at it, that it's not, we have to plan on working in conjunction with both departments and their unions. We can't just say, the charter can't just say, you're going to do this as a public safety commission if we can't legally do that. So this is an all-inclusive, it's not going to be driven by the police or fire department. It's going to be driven by public safety. Right. But we can't forget that we also have to follow legal paths.
Yeah, and that's
privacy paths that we have to follow. So this is really important for us to bring this to the table and come up with this policy. So we all know what the expectation is. The public knows what it is. The council knows what it is. And the departments know what it is. This is how we all follow this. And there's no tit for tat, or there's no, I'm going to do it my way because I'm a new commissioner, right? Because that's how I maybe have done it in my private life or whatever. This is a really important document that we're talking about.
And that's why this particular manual caught my attention, that it did address the union participation and the notification of the chiefs and stuff like that. So instead, I'm one for not reinventing the wheel. And like Deputy Chief Gordon mentioned about stealing good ideas from different places and coming up with something solid.
Yeah, I think that's great. We should all, if you could, is it right on their website?
It's on the website, and it's also, just go under, commission policies.
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, again, when we spoke at that meeting, we talked about a 3 to 6 month path to make sure this gets done right. We're not going to rush into this. Commissioner Illinois has a lot of experience out in the world. We're going to draw from his experience. You all have great experience in the business world and professionally. So we need to draw from all our experiences, and we come up and write a really solid document for this. So I look forward to working with everybody and having everybody's take and input on this document.
I would encourage you to reach out to the HR department too.
Exactly. Yep. That was on my list too. Yep. They need to be involved. Anyway, that's my spiel. And that's it. Any further input on that? And I think we had a good meeting with the counselors, and I look forward to working with them more on this type of stuff. Great. All right. I don't think we have to go into executive session. Does anybody feel we need to go into executive session? All right. I'll take that big motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.